at The Country America Loves with the tale of one legend. Hank Williams' last journey began in Knoxville and ended in tragedy just up the road. Our story is the tale of that fateful night as told by Grainger County Sheriff Earl Cameron. Bill has the story.
Earl Cameron now patrols the streets he once played on in Grainger County. Back then, he wasn't sheriff, and like most boys his age, he was a big fan of Hank Williams.
I dearly loved country music and Hank Williams' style of doing country music.
That hasn't changed. If anything, Sheriff Cameron has become an authority on Luke the Drifter.
There's one of his school teachers. She told him that he couldn't sing a lick.
Earl knows better than that. As a matter of fact, there's very little this Hank fan doesn't know about his idol. And 4 years ago, Earl decided he would try to piece together what happened to Hank the last night he was alive.
The story was that Hank Williams may have died or at least came through Grainger County, Rutledge, Tennessee, on the night of his death, that I would see what I could find. And
a search through court records turned up no evidence that Williams had ever stopped in Grainger County. But through his conversations with Judge Owen Marshall, Deputy Sheriff J.P. Cameron, and State Trooper Swan Kitts, Cameron has come up with what he believes happened between December 31st, 1952 and January 1st, 1953 on Highway 11W, as Williams and his driver, 17-year-old Charles Carr, were on their way to Canton, Ohio. Hank was to perform there. If things went well, then chances were good he would have been hired back at the Grand Ole Opry. We pick up the journey as the two arrive at the Andrew Johnson Hotel.
Carr came into the lobby and registered, got a room for him and Williams, went back to the car and got Hank. Hank was in pain from a ruptured disc in his back. He walked into the hotel, slumped, tired from traveling, riding in a car. They came into the hotel, occupied the room, and Carr, a short time later, came back downstairs to the lobby to the desk clerk and asked for a house doctor. The house doctor came to the hotel and saw Williams, administered a shot for pain, and left. And at approximately 11 o'clock p.m., they left the Andrew Johnson Hotel en route to Canton, Ohio.
But he never made it. Tomorrow on Part 2, Hank's last ride through Grainger County. Bill Stewart, 26 News.
Trouble on the ice in the Grainger County Sheriff Earl Cameron understands that. He was just 15 years old when Hank Williams passed through Rutledge on his way to Ohio. Later on that same trip, Hank Williams died. He was only 29. On tonight's installment of The Country America Loves, Bill Stewart and photographer Jerome Jernigan continues Hank's journey as Earl Cameron believes it happened.
Despite stories to the contrary, Sheriff Cameron believes Hank Williams left the Andrew Johnson under his own power and very much alive. Now for Williams and his teenage driver Charles Carr, it was on to Canton, or so they thought.
Up on Highway 11W, they were passing a car and met a state trooper. Kitts and a deputy sheriff were going west, and Carr almost ran into them. And Kitts turned around and proceeded to stop the car, where at that time Hank Williams was laying in the back seat of the car. Kitts asked who was the gentleman laying in the back seat of the car, and Carr explained to him that it was Hank Williams, that he had a shot of medication for pain, and pleaded with Kitts not to wake Williams up, to let him rest, let him lay in the car and sleep. It was Carr's desire to not lose time or be detained any longer than possible, and he merely asked Trooper Kitts to escort him to the courthouse in Rutledge. they pull in at the back of the courthouse and go up to the dispatch office of the Grainger County Jail, and the Justice of Peace came down to the courthouse and heard the case and let Carr post a cash bond of $33.50 for the fine and cost.
While Carr paid his fine for reckless driving, Hank remained asleep in the car, but soon they were back on the road. 5 hours later, Hank was pronounced dead in Oak Hill, West Virginia. The official cause was acute right ventricular dilation, or heart failure. Today, Hank's name is known by millions, but to the person filling out the death certificate, Williams was simply a radio singer. Stories vary as to where Hank may have died. Was it the Andrew Johnson? Was it in Blaine? Or on a dark and lonesome American back road?
And as I wonder where you are, I'm so lonesome I could cry.
And Bill adds one brief footnote. Former State Trooper Swan Kitts, who stopped Charles Carr that night, would not talk about the incident on camera. Tomorrow night, on Part 3, Bill Stewart is scheduled to have a live interview with the mother-daughter singing group, the